episode of The Design Tourist, I travel to Augsburg, Germany, nicknamed the German Renaissance City for its cultural roots as home to famous artists, painters, sculptors, musicians, and architects. As a prosperous textile production and trading center, Augsburg is one of Germany's most cosmopolitan cities with a storied past and well-preserved architectural jewels, including its UNESCO World Heritage Water Tower. I visit a week before Christmas to shop the famous Christmas markets, exploring the links between culture and creativity that give Augsburg its authentic personality. Before we begin our travels, let's look at the map. Augsburg is located in southeast Germany in the state of Bavaria in its Swabian territory and serves as the capital of Swabia. Today, more than 300,000 people live in Augsburg, making it the third largest city in Bavaria. I chose to stay at the Hotel Drei Mohren for its connection to Augsburg, evident in its vast art collection and ideal location along the city's famous Avenue Maximilian.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm Karen. I'm here to check in.
Okay, welcome to our hotel.
Thank you.
When I travel, I'm always looking for hotels that really inspire my creative muse, ignite the imagination, which drew me to the Hotel Drei Mohren. It's like staying in a living, breathing art gallery where walls are filled with paintings and accessible to the public. It really gives you a chance to get up close and intimate with really amazing art pieces. The hotel opened in 1722, catering to famous guests including Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his family, who were frequent guests. The hotel's name refers to the legend of three travelers who took refuge at the inn across the street during a harsh winter in 1344. Hi, Theodore.
Hi, Karen.
Thank you
Good
for
to have
having
you
me.
here.
So I'm excited to see the art collection here. I know you're going to take me on a walking art tour, and we're going to hit some of the highlights. Where should we go first?
Right. I would say we start with the three kings or the three travelers from 1722. They were outside of the hotel, but we put them after our big renovation 7 years ago for 40 million euros. We decided to put them inside because, of the rain, of the snow and everything, and the weather outside. They are too expensive to put them outside.
Over the years, the hotel has acquired more than 300 works of art on view and continues to build on its collection.
This is one of the paintings I like very much, and it shows that we are still collecting art because we just bought it like 3 years ago.
Oh.
It's a Spanish general, and the painting is from 1641. Yeah, Karen, here is one of our most expensive paintings. It's a fruit still life from Italy, and it's from the 17th century.
In addition to its two gourmet restaurants, Sartori, a Michelin star restaurant, and Maximilian's with its open show kitchen, art adorns the hotel's 132 rooms and all of its public spaces.
Mozart stayed here.
Stayed in this hotel.
Yeah.
That really gives me a sense of the history of this hotel. Mozart stayed in this hotel.
Yeah. And several times, because the Mozart family, his father, Leopold Mozart, was born here in Augsburg. So they had relatives here.
So when they would go home to visit,
Yeah, but they didn't live with the family.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in the hotel.
Wow.
Stayed in the hotel. Yeah, and also Beethoven stayed with us, and Wagner, Richard Wagner. So some famous musicians too.
There are famous musical spirits,
Right.
energy in this hotel.
Yeah.
So I understand that the hotel has its own apiary on the rooftop?
Yeah, that's true. We have like 600 bees living on our rooftop, and we have our own beekeeper to take care of them, and of course they produce our own honey. You can try this honey tomorrow at our lovely breakfast buffet. And we also have a special drink at our bar, 3M. We will take a look afterwards, and we have our own gin. So we have a local gin factory, and it's called August Gin. in name of Augsburg, so August gin, and they mix it up with our honey. So we have a honey gin, and so that's our house gin, and I think it's very, very tasty.
All right, so I can't wait to try the hotel's signature cocktail with honey gin.
Yes, so I may introduce Nikki, our bartender,
Hi,
and she
Nikki.
will mix up your gin tonic with our honey gin.
Thank you. It's beautiful. It's really good. So I met up with my guide, Gundi, who's going to take us on a walk through Augsburg. We just had a cup of coffee to warm up.
To warm up because the temperature is not extremely low, but it is
A little chilly.
a bit chilly, yes.
Gundi wants to show me Augsburg's famous water tower, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Along the way, we stop to admire the Schaezler Palace. A silver trader built this Rococo palace in 1722, and today it's owned by the city and houses an art museum and public gardens. Along Maximilian Avenue, two churches stand side by side. The larger one is Catholic and the smaller one is Lutheran. Together, they bear testament to Augsburg's contentious religious past that plunged it into the 30 Years' War between Catholics and Protestants, eventually ending with the Peace Accord of Westphalia.
Then was a festival of peace, so-called Westphalian peace, in 1648. And this meant for Augsburg equality,
Okay,
Catholic and Lutheran.
okay.
Since then we feel we can pray free. Every year on the 8th of August we celebrate the festival of peace because it was equality after the 30 Years' War.
So we arrived to the water towers,
Yes.
and they recently received the UNESCO World Heritage
Yes.
designation.
Augsburg.
Why?
Why? Augsburg was, with the help of pumps and pipes and so on, and a certain technique possible to supply the population already in the 16th century with private water supply, dividing drinking water and processed water,
Okay.
what is very important. So we have nearby forestry, and there are wells,
Okay.
natural wells, and this is pure drinking water. So we managed to bring the water via aqueduct to here. Now I like to open the door
Okay.
to the oldest water towers in Germany, probably in Central Europe.
The water tower established Augsburg as a pioneer in hydraulic engineering, evolving over 7 centuries. Water was Augsburg's economic lifeblood because of its strategic location at the confluence of the Lech and Wurtach rivers.
Augsburg had 9 water towers, excellent drinking water from the nearby forestry. We took water from the river, from the big river, into the lower part, into little canal to run water wheels and mill for craftsmanship. They were dependent on water.
Sure, all the tradesmen.
Yes.
A network of canals and complex water courses wind through Augsburg, carrying separate sources of potable and processed water. More than 500 bridges lead over streams and canals throughout the city, giving Augsburg more bridges than Venice. The water tower is a 15th century building complex with a viaduct, 3 water towers, and 2 houses for fountain masters. For almost 500 years, the complex was used to supply Augsburg with drinking water. Inside, you can see the mechanics of the pumping machinery driven by water wheels and later by turbines to pump water into the higher parts of the historic city center. During medieval times, citizens could get clean water from the city's many public fountains. By the 16th century, rich Augsburgers could have their own private water supply piped in from the water tower, and they regulated water pressure with soapstones in the pipes. Since 1879, Augsburg has had a central water supply. Water also powered Augsburg's prosperous textile industry. To learn more about it, we visit one of Bavaria's first factories, the State Museum of Textiles and Textile Industry. I met up with Lauren, my tour guide, an American living and working in Germany at the museum.
Augsburg was the main city in Germany to start. 1826 was the textile industry. Augsburg was major. They chose Augsburg for the main city because of the canals. We have 60 miles of canals in Augsburg, and they could transfer the material. Although the trains came right into Hof outside.
Okay.
They had built the rails right here.
We started the Loom Room, a collection of weaving machines used throughout the 19th and 20th centuries.
There were 300 to 500 weaving machines in rooms like this.
So there are...
This building here is an original factory, and that was one of the rooms.
We meet the master weaver, nicknamed Chief of the Looms, who's going to demonstrate how these historic looms work, starting with the oldest, dating back to 1880.
I have always been fascinated by the jacquard loom because it was such an engineering feat. Oh my gosh, the complexity of the string and the punch cards to create the patterns.
Our walkthrough of this timeline of weaving looms leads us to a 1970s terry cloth loom.
This is today, modern day loom.
Modern day loom.
I'm looking at how we make textile today.
We end up at a modern day loom that weaves textile products sold in the museum's gift shop. The museum building operated from 1836 to 2004 as a textile factory, using wool as its primary material.
I'm working up a sweat here. Hold on.
Me too.
Here
but
we
it's
go.
exactly.
Here.
And you comb
No
it.
more knots.
Well, no more knots,
No more
exactly.
knots.
At its peak, there were 25 operational textile mills in Augsburg from the middle of the 19th century to the early 20th century, employing approximately 30,000 people.
These are different examples of textiles that are made here in the museum.
So I've got
This is linen.
linen.
A stronger linen, strongest. This is terry cloth. This is very fine cotton.
On the day I visited, the Textile Museum was hosting a special exhibit of fashions inspired by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the Mode of Mozart. The exhibit marks the 300th birthday of Leopold Mozart, Wolfgang's father, who was born in Augsburg. It provides powerful insight into the fashion world of this famous family and the role clothing played in social circles in the 18th century. The museum has a permanent exhibit featuring 200 years of fashion history, with outfits that embody the materials, patterns, and colors of Augsburg's textile industry. And it has a collection of 550 pattern books with 1.3 million fabric samples.
All right, Lauren, let's go shopping in the gift shop.
I'm ready.
So you were saying everything here?
That's textile. Yeah, I don't know about the printing, of the books. But all the textiles were made here on our machines.
Oh, wow. What a great souvenir for anyone who visits the museum.
Inspired by my design finds at the museum, I continue my shopping trip in search of more locally made, handcrafted items.
Today I'm going to take you through the Christmas market of Augsburg. Now, what I've learned on my travels throughout Germany is that every Christmas market is different. You can find regional products, foods, and handicrafts that vary from city to city.
Textile and hand-woven items, hand-carved wooden products, and glass-blown ornaments are some of the regional products I'm shopping for at the Christmas market, all the while sampling regional culinary treats.
So one thing that all of the German Christmas markets have in common is the mulled wine. It's a hot, spiced wine. Now the taste varies from market to market, so let's go check out the Augsburg hot mulled wine. Hi, how are you?
It's fine, thanks.
So I would like one white and one red. And how do you say this?
Glühwein. Glühwein.
Glühwein.
Glühwein, yes, mulled wine. So you call it Glühwein and then you say cheers and you say Merry Christmas. And
Cheers.
Every time.
Glühwein.
Nice to have you here.
Glühwein. Everything looks so yummy. Are these all regional sweet treats at Christmas?
Yeah, so more or less they are. You know, we have many common sweets around Christmas time in Germany in general. So, for example, we have Baumkuchen.
So it's a chocolate-covered cake? Is it cake?
More or less it is. You know, there's also some alcohol in it. And yeah, so this one's for you, I would say.
Thank you.
After 2 full days exploring, I say goodbye to Augsburg, inspired by its creative legacy, preserved by working artisans today, and proudly celebrated in its museums. Just as Augsburg has been a muse to artists, musicians, and makers throughout centuries, it continues to ignite the imaginations of visitors. Until the Design Tourist travels again, stay tuned and stay inspired.